My name is Jane Burriss. In 1988, when I was just 22 years old, I was attacked and stabbed 27 times and left for dead. I am a survivor. In the 1970s and 80s, women's bodies started to surface in the Connecticut River Valley between New Hampshire and Vermont. Is my case related to these cases? This is unknown. Why? Because all the cases still remain unsolved. Are all the cases related in the work of one serial killer? We don't know that either. But law enforcement did form a task force in the 80s to investigate all of them. I've joined forces with my co-hosts Amanda and Drew. Together, we are a voice for the voiceless. We advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves while remaining factual and engaging with empathy. The Invisible Tears team is transparent and opinionated, never claiming to be anything we are not. We aren't law enforcement, we aren't private investigators or journalists. We are victim advocates who care and want to help families.
So make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any episodes. You can find us on all platforms through our link tree in the show notes. There you can find our social media platforms, our YouTube, and our website with our merch. You can also find our Patreon there. So if you're interested in supporting and joining the Invisible Tears team, join our Patreon today. And as always, ratings and recommendations help our podcast in algorithms. So if you haven't shown us some love and given us a 5-star rating and review, please do so. We appreciate each and every one of you and your continued support.
Welcome to Invisible Tears. I'm Jane, co-host, and I'm here with my co-host Amanda today. Boy, we got quite the story to do today. Your overview was awesome, Amanda. We're gonna have quite a few emotional opinions, but we're gonna try to save it, and we're gonna try to control our emotional opinions and feelings for now.
Yep, it's a good exercise for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I released most of my freaking anger the other night as I was reading the overview. So
yep.
We'll go from there. We're going to save most of that for Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep.
So Amanda, why don't you take it away? See and tell you're the magician and magic that did this wonderful overview.
You're so sweet. Thank you, Jane. Yeah. So guys, normally in our overviews, we're covering, unsolved missing and murder cases. So the case that we're going to talk about today, technically it's not quote solved yet, as we're patiently waiting for the trial to start. But you all actually requested this overview from us, and it was quite some time ago. And now I completely understand why after digging into it. This little boy needs justice. He was failed by just so many people. So we're going to talk about the brutal murder of 5-year-old Dennis Boo Vaughan Jr. This needs to be talked about. People need to know his name. They need to know about his case. And we all need to be paying attention to the news in the coming months to make sure that we're following the upcoming trial.
This happened in New Hampshire.
Yes, it did.
I live in New Hampshire. You live in New Hampshire. We have never heard about this.
I was so floored that I had never heard about this. And again, exactly why we're covering it and why we're talking about it. Because if we, even being from within the true crime space, if we had never heard about this or the details that were involved with this, how many of you don't know about this case?
Right. And it's like we try to keep up on everything that happens in New Hampshire with true crime and unsolved cases and cases like this. And it just blows my mind. This has not gotten more media coverage. It will blow you guys' mind too. Trust me.
Yep. I think as we start going through some of the facts about the case, I think you guys will be able to put 2 and 2 together. And I think that, unfortunately, I think that there's an underlying reason why this case hasn't gotten more coverage. again, like I said, he was failed by so many. So a lot of times those people don't like all their failures to be publicly aired. So throughout this overview, I'll either call Dennis, but we do have a senior involved with it too. So when I was talking about, Dennis Vaughan Jr., Boo is the nickname that his mother gave him. Apparently, right after he was born, she just started calling him Boo. So a lot of people actually called him Boo. So if I say Boo, I'm referring to this adorable little 5-year-old that we're talking about in the interview.
Same here, Amanda. I'm going to refer to him as Boo too.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate too. After the pictures I saw of him, he looks like a
right.
Boo. Yeah,
right, right.
So, guys, in researching this case, since it's not that old, and it's certainly not as old as some of the other cases, especially the cases that we've been covering lately. So I didn't go to newspapers.com. Again, remember newspapers.com that I research it, it's 2 years behind in their archives. So I didn't go there like I normally do. I found all of the articles that I'm going to reference in this overview too through extensive Google searches. And I found a podcast that did a 3-part series on Boo's story. So that podcast is titled Suffer the Little Children. Now, I had never heard of this podcast before. After I listened to especially these specific episodes, it's going to be a podcast that I follow in the future. It's composed extremely well. So episodes 200 through 202 are about Boo in Suffer the Little Children podcast. So I implore all of you to go watch or listen to this podcast. I actually found it on YouTube, so I actually watched it, but I will make sure and post the links for that in our show notes.
Great. That's awesome.
But I do have a disclaimer that I want to make sure and put out there about this case. I know that we normally talk about, obviously, unsolved missing and murder cases. Normally, we should have a normal disclaimer out there anyway.
Yeah.
Specific to this case, though, viewer discretion is advised because this case is really disturbing. And especially if you listen to that 3-part series that I'm going to link, the other podcast too, Suffer the Little Children, which goes into extreme detail, you will be disgusted, you will be disturbed, and you will be infuriated.
Yeah.
I cried listening to it, as did Drew. Drew listened to it with me as well. We both cried. It was powerful because even the mother was interviewed. So, disclaimer out there.
Yeah. I had not listened to that yet, but I did have a lot of emotion reading your overview about this case. But we're going to try to save that for our Patreon episode. So, why don't I begin? Dennis Boo Vaughan Jr. was born June 11th, 2014 to Danielle Vaughan and Dennis Vaughan Sr. He was the youngest of their 4 children together at that time. Danielle Vaughan was born April 30th, 1989. Dennis Vaughan Sr. was born on February 27th, 1956. Dennis Vaughan Sr. was friends with Danielle's mother, Sherry Connor, and was in fact older than her by about 6 years. Sherry, Danielle's mom, moved to Florida abruptly when Danielle was 15 years old. She left Danielle in the care of 48-year-old Dennis Sr. and his girlfriend at the time. Dennis Sr. began to groom Danielle and convinced her that they were in a romantic relationship. By the time Danielle was 17, she was pregnant with their first child. And by 18, Danielle states that Dennis Sr. forced Danielle to marry him. Their first child was a daughter, and the next 3 were boys. When Boo was born, he was premature. Danielle had uncontrolled bleeding and needed to stay in the hospital for 3 days, while Boo needed to stay for 7 days. He was born at 35 weeks. Danielle and Dennis Sr.'s home life was anything but healthy. Dennis Sr. was abusive towards both Danielle and the children. Dennis Sr. was repeatedly arrested for drugs, and both Dennis Sr. and Danielle struggled with drug addiction. In early 2016, in Laconia, New Hampshire, police raided their home and arrested Dennis Sr. on drug charges. In response to this, DCYF removed all 4 of their children from their home over concerns of drug abuse and domestic violence in their home. When this happened, Danielle retained her rights to her children, even though she was not deemed the custodial parent because of the circumstances. At the time, Danielle was also pregnant with her and Dennis's 5th child.
Whew.
Jesus.
I know.
After this 5th child was born, Danielle separated herself from Dennis Sr. and was attempting to remove him from her life as best she could. In doing this, Danielle planned a trip to Maine. She asked her mother, Sherry Connor. Now, Sherry Connor is a very important name in this.
Remember that name.
She asked her mother, Sherry Connor, to watch her then 4-month-old baby during her short trip. Sherry agreed, so Danielle left all the baby supplies and even paid her mother for watching the baby. While Danielle was gone on that trip, Sherry went to family court and told the judge that Danielle had abandoned her young child, which led to Sherry being given guardianship over the baby. Because of these claims Sherry made against Danielle as well, Danielle was kicked out of her housing situation. So Danielle remained homeless for 2 months. She had no hope without housing of fighting to get any of her kids back. And this is someone she's supposed to trust, her mom.
Right. Her own mother. It is absolutely insane to me. And as we keep on going over some of the specifics and some of the facts, it's absolutely insane to me how this kind of alludes to and really sheds some light on the family court system as well.
It sure does.
And I think that's putting it lightly. I remember during our interview with Hope, right, earlier this season, we were talking about, how essentially you don't need any sort of proof. You can just go in and say something. And they're like, okay, you literally need no evidence. You literally need no proof. And I think this, the circumstances in this case actually help to outline that.
Yeah, definitely.
So during this time, the 4 older kids were living with a foster family. Between February and June of 2016, DCYF was actually evaluating Sherry Connor, Danielle's mother, for relative placement. But she wasn't approved because they received several concerning reports about her. The claims included that Sherry often got drunk, associated with drug users, and actually scared her grandchildren. In fact, Danielle's oldest daughter even reported that she witnessed Sherry hitting Danielle. She witnessed her grandmother beating her mom. The second oldest child reported that Sherry had sexually abused him while she was drunk.
It's just,
I know. I'm sorry, guys. Buckle up. It gets so much worse. So Sherry had a history of domestic violence charges brought against her. But the interesting piece is that she was actually never found guilty because the victims never actually pursued the case. I think there was one case where she was actually found guilty, but they dropped it to like a lesser charge. It wasn't even like battery. It was like menacing or something like that. So there's violence. She's violent. So in this situation, in this very, very crappy situation, right? So what does Danielle do about her kids, right? She starts taking all the steps to actually get her kids back. All right. And she does it. And she goes above and beyond what is ever asked of her too.
Oh, she did. She did. She did everything right.
Yep. So she entered recovery. She got clean. She attended parenting classes. She was able to establish secure and safe housing away from Dennis Sr., but she still doesn't get her kids back. So let's talk about it. In June of 2017, a family court judge removed the kids from their foster home because Danielle's kids from the foster home because the foster parents had improperly interfered with Danielle's contact with her children. So we're talking about the 4 older children right now, right? Danielle claimed that during this time that they were with this foster family, this year plus, she was only allowed to see her kids twice. So now that the kids have been removed from this foster family, they're back in court. DCYF wants to place the kids in separate homes. Danielle, of course, any mom would be like, please keep my kids together. They've been through enough, right? They've been taken out of their home. They've been put in a foster home. Like, just, she doesn't want the kids separated. So you know what the court decides to do then? The court suggested that DCYF actually place the children with Sherry Connor, apparently ignoring all of the horrible reports that they had gotten about her. DCYF was instructed, though, to thoroughly investigate Sherry and conduct a home study, but that never happened.
Surprise, surprise.
Shocker. Danielle adamantly objected to them being placed with her mother, but she realized once she said she didn't want the kids separated, this was literally the only other option that they actually gave her, right?
So at this time, Amanda, Boo is 3 years old.
Yes, correct.
He was born in 2014. This is in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So Boo is actually 3 years old at this time.
Yes, he is. Yep.
And I want to bring that up because this goes on for a while with the courts.
Yes. Great point. Yes, we should periodically keep on bringing in because we do have so many facts. We're essentially going through a timeline.
So many dates.
Mm-hmm. So Danielle is adamantly objecting to the kids being placed with her mother because she knew how abusive she was. She was actually proof of that. She has been public and transparent about all the abuse that she suffered as a child, and even into adulthood, right? She knows she's violent, abusive, and it's not a good environment for her kids. Again, like you said, Jane, Boo's 3. 2 weeks after the children were placed in the care of Sherry, she stormed into the DCYF offices, furious that she wasn't getting money for them. According to the DCYF reports, she was screaming, swearing, gritting her teeth, and this is my personal favorite, she was banging on desks.
In the DCYF office that placed the children with her.
Yes.
So between 2017 and 2019, this blows my mind, DCYF received at least 27 reports of Sherry's neglectful and abusive behavior from neighbors, anonymous sources, and many different mandatory reporters that included teachers, counselors, nurses, and doctors. The first of the reports was even from medical personnel stating that they had found what could be genital warts type lesions on the youngest grandchild, which could indicate sexual abuse.
Yeah, 27 reports is just too much to go through. And honestly, I don't want to, because the sheer volume of the reports from various different people should be enough for real and thorough actual investigation to take place. So I'll just summarize and point out some key stuff, right? So basically, if the reports were investigated, and I use that term lightly, Sherry always talked her way out of whatever was being presented. Basic rules were also not followed with some of these reports, like simply checking on the accusation or even the way they interviewed or talked to the children. Interviewing witnesses too consistently never occurred.
Now, this is DCYF doing this, interviewing and talking to the children that they're supposed to be talking to the children. Okay.
Yep. So DCYF policy actually states that in situations like this, where there's potential abuse, that the child needs to be taken to a neutral and safe environment, clear from their potential abuser, clear from the environment where anything happens, so they can truly be interviewed.
Makes sense.
That never happened with these children. I'll also summarize that the conditions alone in Sherry's home where they were living were absolutely deplorable. It's documented that the house was covered in human and animal urine and feces. Sherry locked the cupboards and the fridge, consistently starved them, refused to let them drink, forced them to use a bucket to go to the bathroom in. And when these kids were thirsty enough, they actually admitted to drinking from the toilet. And if Sherry found them, she would punish them. At school, too, the older children frequently were found stealing food.
So these accusations about the house, these allegations about the home.
Yep.
And now, who reported that?
The DC, it was documented in the DCYF caseworkers files.
So DCYF literally went in there and saw these conditions.
Yes. They went in there, saw those conditions, and also it was documented from some police officers as well.
That's okay. So law enforcement had shown up there.
Yep. So correct me if I'm wrong, Jane, but don't you think that just those conditions alone would have been enough typically for removal of children?
Absolutely. I know of people that have had their children removed from their homes for less than this.
Right. For less than just the condition of the home.
Yes. Take away the abuse, just the condition of the home, they should have been removed immediately. Yeah. And not returned.
It's just so infuriating. All right, so let's talk about some common ways that Sherry would actually punish these children. All right, because I mentioned that if she caught them drinking from the toilet, she would punish them.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, there are many, 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 many other things she would punish them for. But let's talk about her types of punishment. Sherry would lock the children in the basement for sometimes days on end. She would make them run the stairs until they literally collapsed, sometimes with a diaper on. She would put hot sauce on their genitals. She forced them into ice baths or scalding hot baths, sometimes even holding their head underneath the water. She suffocated them with pillows when they were crying. She would purposely feed them rotten food when she would actually give them food. And of course, she beat them. She beat all of them, and she beat them all over their bodies.
Now, again, Boo is between 3 and 4, almost 5 at this time.
Yep.
And the other ones are like anywhere from, 11 or 12 and younger, or 9 and 10 and younger?
Yep. I think by this time, 11 and younger.
11 and younger.
Yep. I think by this time, because by the time Boo is 5 or 5.5, when he actually ends up being murdered, I believe the oldest was 12.
So they're not 10, 11 and younger.
Yes.
At this time that they're going through this abuse.
Yes. Yep.
Evil bitch.
There's a certain type of place. There really is.
There really is.
So this is another piece that gets me too. Neighbors would also report that they consistently saw, especially the youngest. No, and when I say the youngest, I'll say the younger children. They're really talking about Boo. Being punished outside in the winter with no shoes on, and certainly not weather appropriate clothing. So they would even witness her actually beating them and throwing them outside. So they were actually witness to it. Regardless of all of this, in March of 2018, a petition was actually granted by the courts giving Sherry full legal guardianship over the grandchildren. They also granted her the authority to use her discretion on the contact or any communication that the children had with their biological parents, so Danielle and Dennis Sr. That blows my mind. I have absolutely no clue how.
Yeah, I it sounds like another Harmony Montgomery.
Yes.
Just it just flashes in my head. Harmony Montgomery.
So this legal guardianship was granted in March of 2018. Between April 17th and April 30th of 2018, 8 professional mandatory reporters made a total of 6 separate complaints to DCYF about the potential abuse. These, again, came from nurses, principals, teachers, counselors. The reports outlined specifics about the bruises and scratches on all the children that were in school, especially all over their body. It should also be noted that the mandated reporters took pictures and had proof of bruising and marks left by handcuffs on these children. I know it's so hard to actually get through this overview without just screaming.
All this time, Danielle is working fiercely trying to get her kids back. She's still clean, is stable, and is working. She herself is contacting DCYF, the police for welfare checks, contacted the New Hampshire office of the Children Advocate, which I looked them up, but no one would help her and no one would listen. At times, it even sounded as if Sherry's neighbors were just so fed up with the constant abuse and screaming and banging that they started taking recordings themselves because they just wanted someone to help these poor precious kids. They were obviously worried about their safety.
I actually, on the podcast that at the 3-part series that I mentioned at the beginning of this overview, I actually heard a recording of one of the neighbors. The frustration and the anger that was in her voice when she called it into the cops. She is like, listen, someone needs to get out here. This is absolutely ridiculous. This happens every other day. I am so worried for these kids. She was just so fed up. She was like, you better get here because I'm also reporting it to DCYF. I'm also doing this. I'm taking video. I'm taking audio now. I'm taking video every time I see these kids. Like, she was like, what has to happen for these kids to be protected, for somebody to do something? She was so irritated.
Yeah, can I get an officer to 103 Blueberry Lane, apartment 67? I don't know if the lady is beating the crap out of her kids. It's 11 at night, and there is so much banging or whatever. I tried banging back. It is so profusely, and all that you can hear is her screaming at her kids. I have videos of them outside barefoot for an hour, literally, over the winter time. It happens every other day. I don't know if she's abusing the hell out of her kids or something, but she will not be quiet, and all that you can hear is like kids screaming.
All right.
I told her I was reporting her, but you might want to come here for safety, and I have proof.
All right.
And I am following it up with DCYF, just to let you know.
I'm still trying to process all this freaking shit. As we started getting closer to the untimely murder of Boo, it's recorded that Sherry was starting to make some disturbing comments to mandated reporters that included, I can't handle these boys anymore, and her frustration with them prevented her from handling them appropriately. She also stated that she was intent on ridding the boys of both their father and the devil. Exorcism.
Yep.
She then stated that she found God and that the boys were taught to follow the devil by their father, who was in a cult. She didn't know what else to do with the boys besides having a pastor come to the house to get the devil out of the boys.
No, just talking like this. There's really concerned, especially to the mandated reporters that she's actually telling this to. I believe it's not even just like the mandated reporters, like teachers and counselors and principals. I think she was even saying some of the stuff directly to DCYF. Somebody who is making comments like this and saying like, I can't handle them appropriately because I'm so frustrated, and then starts talking about ridding them of the devil. Huge red flags. And there's definitely some mental
Right?
stuff that's occurring.
That's what I was thinking. I said, okay, yeah, she's abusive, but now they have something to look at as far as her mental health is concerned. So this one's good.
Yes.
In June of 2019, Sherry accidentally butt dials Danielle and leaves a voicemail. In that voicemail, you can hear screaming, swearing, crying, and the sounds of slapping and hitting. She unknowingly called her daughter and sent her a recording of her kicking the crap out of one of her kids. After receiving this, Danielle filed a motion to terminate Sherry's guardianship over all the children. Now, that should have been cut and dry, done, done. End of story. That's what it should have been. End of story, done.
Yes. Yep.
No, it's not.
Unfortunately, it's not. Because shortly after this, the police responded to find one of Danielle's children, the 8-year-old, we're not talking about Boo, we're talking about one of the middle children, duct taped to a chair in the middle of a campground after being beaten. Sherry and 2 other unnamed adults did this. After this incident, the abuse was actually taken somewhat seriously.
Somewhat. There's the magic word, somewhat.
Somewhat. Caseworkers actually interviewed the boy that was duct taped to the chair. And they actually conducted this interview away from Sherry, which is supposed to be what they do every single time anyway. He confirmed a whole bunch of abuse, but not just to him, to his siblings as well. Danielle also had the voicemail that Sherry unknowingly sent her, and armed with that and the recent event of this child being beaten and duct taped to a chair, the caseworker started developing a plan to actually remove the 8-year-old from Sherry's home. Now, the piece that is absolutely baffling to me is that this safety plan was only to remove that child.
One child.
Not the others. Even though he outlined abuse for all of his other siblings.
Right.
After this situation erupted, this child was put back into Danielle's care. And out of fury, Sherry retaliated and contacted DCYF and made a claim that the caseworker that helped Danielle, that actually took everything seriously and helped Danielle get her one child back, only helped her because they were having an affair with her. That caseworker actually ended up getting fired from his job, and the allegation essentially ruined his life. Danielle obviously denies the relationship and said, this is simply just a caseworker that finally listened to me. It didn't look at my past with addiction, with the drug charges that were against Senior in my house and things like that. He wasn't actually putting me into a box and just labeling me as this person forever going forward. Actually looked and saw what was actually occurring. And so she denied that.
They investigate him and hers quote unquote relationship, sexual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That was an allegation that was never founded.
Mm-hmm.
Both denied it. So they investigate that fully and take action on it, but they don't do anything about the kids in Sherry's freaking home.
Right. And it actually even sounds like they didn't even investigate. They just said, "Oh, it's an accusation. You're fired."
Yeah.
What
the? Oh my God, I can't wait till we go on the Patreon part of this. If you guys want to hear our true and honest opinions about all this and hear us talk about this, get Patreon. Sign up for Patreon, because after this overview, we're hitting Patreon, and we both have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now is the point where you all might be wondering, and I'm sure you're wondering throughout this entire overview as we're outlining everything that's happening. Like, why is everybody actually listening to Sherry? Like, why is her word gold? Why can she say what? Apparently, they don't think that she lies. It's weird. According to her daughter, Danielle, Sherry is actually a fantastic actress. Always has a way of talking her way out of anything. And in fact, Danielle remembers when she was younger, she had to constantly move around and pick up in the middle of the night because Sherry would get involved with drugs and people associated with the drug game, steal and scam them out of money, drugs, whatever. And then she would have to disappear. Now the whole abruptly moving to Florida kind of makes sense to me when Danielle was younger. So I'm sure that you all know some of those types of personalities, extremely violent, abusive personalities, where it's infuriating because to everybody in the world, it appears as if they're so charismatic and they're, and they can like talk their way out of anything. And it seems like everybody believes them. Apparently, that is Sherry's personality. So Danielle has the motion in the courts to terminate Sherry's guardianship. And at that initial hearing, the court stated that they were actually leaning towards doing that, but they needed to hear more specific information about from the actual caseworker who made the last report. In that initial court setting, he wasn't actually there. So they need to actually hear it specifically from him. So they were going to be forming a transition plan for the kids to get back into Danielle's care. Just a few days before that actual court date, where the actual caseworker was going to actually come in, Sherry makes another call and tells a school counselor that she's concerned that one of the children is reporting that Danielle, Dennis Sr., and a former foster mother had sexually abused them. So
What timing?
Yeah.
What timing?
What timing? What timing, Sherry? So the transition plan was going to be all set. But once this phone call occurred, DCYF stated that they no longer supported that transition plan because they needed to conduct a thorough investigation about this claim. I love how they pick and choose which claims they're going to really investigate.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Right.
The court agreed with DCYF and instructed them to conduct the interviews of the children at the Child Advocacy Center. Once Danielle heard these allegations, while not true, honestly, she completely welcomed the investigation as long as the interviews were actually conducted as they should be, away from Sherry at the Advocacy Center, because she was actually like begging, yes, please, fully investigate, actually talk to the kids, because she knew that she wasn't guilty of any type of abuse towards any of her children. But she wanted the actual facts of what was happening in Sherry's house to actually come out in these interviews.
Now, just very quickly, that child advocacy program, the Child Advocacy Center, really is not completely connected with DCYF. It's a totally separate program. And this CAC program really does try to protect children. I've done some research on them online, and they've actually wrote some articles how DCYF in New Hampshire is completely broken and needs fixing. So this Child Advocacy Center is a different program than DCYF, but they work together a lot, obviously.
Yeah. So it's good that they are neutral. So that is a good place to conduct the interviews, right?
It would have been an excellent place to conduct the interviews. Yep.
And Danielle actually begged DCYF to actually schedule the interviews, all the interviews, as soon as possible so her children could be removed. So the transition plan could actually occur, right? She actually went as far as to beg the courts to even remove them from Sherry's house and put them anywhere else just to get them out of there.
Yeah. They needed to get away from Sherry.
Absolutely. At this point, I mean, Danielle, based off of what was said, Danielle was scared. She was scared for her children. Only one CAC interview was actually conducted when all the children were supposed to have these interviews. The allegations against Danielle were marked unfounded. As soon as Danielle was told this, she filed another motion to get all the children out of Sherry's house. So she's realizing, she's like, okay, people aren't listening to me. Okay, I have to go the legal way. So it's the filing the motions, the filing, that trying to play the game right in the legal system.
Danielle is doing everything right.
Yes, but unfortunately, the courts move slow, and it was just too late. So early on the morning of Christmas Eve, December 24th of 2019. Sherry claimed to have found Boo's unresponsive body in an upstairs bedroom and carried him downstairs. Boo's 12-year-old sister called 911. Around 8 a.m., paramedics arrived and found Boo on the floor wearing only a diaper. He wasn't breathing and he didn't have a pulse. He could not be saved. His extremities were already getting stiff, so he had unfortunately passed sometime earlier. Danielle was at work at Elliott Hospital in Manchester, where she was employed as a cleaner, and she was actually notified by state police that Boo was dead. They actually went to her work to speak with her. It was confirmed by hospital personnel that Boo had multiple bruises in different stages of healing all over his body. Sherry stated that he must have fallen on something and then stopped talking to police or officials, later stating they were mean to her. For some reason, Sherry was allowed to take the remaining living children to a hotel after this occurred on Christmas Eve. And allegedly during that time, she threatened the other children and told them that she would kill them like she killed their brother if they told anybody about the abuse or what happened. She was also allegedly trying to convince one of the other children that they had actually been the one responsible for killing Boo.
Oh my God, I can't even. And if people listen to this bullshit and believe this bullshit she's feeding people, I can't even understand it. Now, this was 2019.
Yes, it was.
2019.
Yep.
All right. Now keep that in mind. Who died 2019?
Mm-hmm. The children were finally removed under emergency order. Of course, only after Boo was dead.
Yeah. It took one child to die before DCYF came in and decided to finally remove these children.
Sherry was irate when the children were removed from her care.
Narcissist.
Oh, big time. The house was processed. No one was named as a suspect, if you can even believe that.
Oh.
Sherry apparently tried to explain herself to Danielle the day after Christmas and said in the hours leading up to Boo's death that he was hallucinating, couldn't eat or drink, had 104 fever, and said the devil was there to get him, because that sounds like something Boo would say.
So now we're in May of 2020.
Yep.
Then Attorney General finally made a statement to the public saying the Boo's death was a homicide caused by blunt force trauma to the head and neck. This one's hard. It was noted that his body suffered over 60 contusions and abrasions. It was determined that no fall nor any other child could have caused Boo's injuries. They could only be caused by an adult, and Sherry Connor was the only adult present at that residence when he died. 60 contusions and abrasions. This little boy was freaking 5.
Yep.
5. His little body was so small. 5.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even comprehend that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what in the F?
Yep. And you all might be wondering too why that. So Boo passed December 24th, 2019. This statement was made in May of 2020, right? So that much time had passed. Remember, COVID was hitting, and that was the initial. Just to remind everybody about the time space. That was the initial hold up with absolutely everything, with anything that was occurring in the world, right? So
now we've heard Sherry's story about what apparently happened. The accounts from Boo's siblings paint a very different picture. And I'm so glad they were strong enough to speak up. The siblings noted that Sherry was furious with Boo for leaving clothes on the floor and was punishing him by making him run in place with a diaper on until he collapsed. When he collapsed, she then proceeded to beat him just because he left clothes on the floor. Okay, he's 5.
Yep.
One of the objects she used to beat him with was a broom, and she beat him over his head and neck with it until it broke.
Yep.
Even after it broke, she didn't stop. Sherry proceeded to stomp on Boo, stomp on a 5-year-old.
Yep.
When he couldn't get up and was hallucinating, I don't know how she knew he was hallucinating, but she apparently threw a blanket on him. He also spiked a fever of 104, and he lost control of his bladder and bowels. Danielle actually noted in her interview in the podcast that Amanda mentioned earlier that her oldest daughter told her after Boo was dead, Sherry actually threw Boo on top of her, stiff-limbed and all, and the siblings were forced to sleep next to him after he was dying. What in the
That's the part where, I mean, absolutely all of it's horrible, right? That's the part where I started losing it. Like, that is so twisted. That is so evil. I can't imagine doing that to children. Like, she's never going to forget that.
And again, people, I want to stress that we could hardly find anything reported on this in the media. Tell me why this didn't go national. I mean, so again, I'm going to save the rest of this for our Patreon, but hello, this should be all over the flipping news. This isn't old news. This isn't from the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Be all over the news.
Yep.
Now, in true New Hampshire form, there was literal silence about Boo's death.
Absolutely infuriating. Anytime any official was asked for an update, the wording was that it's still under investigation, right? So they can't talk about it. Even as years are passing, the AG's office was silent, as well as DCYF.
So 2 years go by.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yep.
Danielle is frustrated with the lack of movement with the case, so she speaks to a reporter from the New Hampshire union leader. She told them everything. All the reports, the conditions, and how all the organizations, DCYF, the courts, the agencies, all failed Boo. In December of 2022, Danielle files a lawsuit against the New Hampshire DCYF. Boy, this seems to be, people seem to be doing this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And she also filed a lawsuit against several individuals representing them, accusing them of gross negligence and wrongful death. Now, this really isn't too clear. I wish there was more detail in this. But once her lawsuit was filed, grassroots advocacy work started occurring.
Yep.
A large Facebook group was created that still exists today, and a former child service worker took it upon herself to start raising money for a billboard for Boo. I wish I saw that billboard.
Me too.
She was not just pushing for justice for this little boy, but for reform.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This woman, and I know I apologize, Jane, I didn't actually put it into the overview, but there's actually a pretty decent article that'll be linked in the show notes about it too, so the listeners can actually go through and read it. This woman that actually started raising the money for the billboard, she was a former worker for DCYF.
DCYF?
Yes.
Really?
And so she was drawn. She didn't know the family. She didn't know the boy. She wasn't involved with any of the reports of the cases or anything like that. She was just like, this is absolutely insane. So she just started taking it upon herself, saying, I know how broken the system is. We need reform, but more importantly, this little boy needs justice. And so, two-part, right? Everybody needs to know his name, and everybody needs to know the system needs to be fixed. So,
well, I'll tell you what, by the time we're done, Boo is going to be a regular name, and we're not going to be silent about any of this.
Nope.
DCYF is going to be called out so freaking bad. So when the Laconia police started feeling pressure, they would make comments that simply said they can't comment on anything, and it is out of their hands, as the case is with the New Hampshire State Police and the Attorney General's office. Literally, their hands were tied. I totally believe them, because once it gets to the AG's office, it sits.
Yep.
Until they have a freaking confession. It just sits. So that was 2022.
yes.
Then the New Hampshire Bulletin actually contacted Sherry Connor for an interview, and in it, Sherry claimed her innocence and even denied what was on Boo's death certificate, and claimed he died of natural causes.
I have his death certificate. It doesn't claim that.
She even called out the fact that she hadn't been arrested.
Mhm.
This is 2 years later.
Yep.
3 years later. 2
3
years.
3. Yep.
And she's bragging. She hadn't even been arrested. So anything about him not dying of natural causes was a lie, she stated. After the interview was published, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office saw a grand jury subpoena for this interview with Sherry.
Ooh.
Woohoo! Fire into Sherry's ass.
Mm-hmm.
DCYF never has admitted any fault, but coincidentally, an arrest was made in Boo's case 3 weeks after Danielle settled the lawsuit. What candid timing. Now, what I wanted to know was, okay, she settled the lawsuit, but was it said earlier that she had the lawsuit against DCYF and the individuals that were on the case, the individual social workers. Now, the case was settled. The lawsuit was settled. But was it the lawsuit against the DCYF, or was it the individuals, or was it a combination? Who paid her?
The lawsuit itself, so it's interesting, and I also actually have a link, which it'll be in the show notes. Her lawsuit is actually a public record. The filing of it is actually public record, so I'll link it in the show notes. The lawsuit is all inclusive, so she doesn't just name DCYF, but under DCYF she names the potential, like the main people involved with. Yep. So the individuals involved with. So when it's funny, there is absolutely nothing published about it actually being settled, no media coverage or anything like that. That's just knowing that it was settled, and the timing is coming from Danielle and her interview on that podcast. So her case was settled, and I believe that DCYF or the state gave her a settlement. She has noted that she's never put out there a dollar amount or anything like that. But it has been put in trust for her remaining living children.
Good.
Because they will, and that was her choice to do that. Because she understands that they will need resources for the rest of their lives to help them attempt to recover and have a normal life from this situation. But apparently, with that settlement in large letters, the state and DCYF, along with the individuals, made note that just because it's settled doesn't mean that that we are taking any responsibility.
So nobody was fired, no accountability. All right, I'm going to save this for our Patreons. If you really want to listen to a lot, you might want to sign up for Patreon.
Yeah.
So Sherry was arrested on August 16th, 2024. 24.
Yep.
Who died in 2019?
Yep.
Let's not rush this. She was being charged with manslaughter and negligent homicide. 6 counts of first-degree assault, second-degree assault, and 4 counts of witnessing tampering. So the charges brought against her aren't just for Boo, it's for all his siblings as well.
Yes.
Kudos to you guys. Very well done. About freaking time. Multiple times, Sherry's defense team has tried to get her bail, stating she isn't a threat. She isn't a threat. Hello. She's definitely a threat. She has a dog to take care of, and she has cancer diagnosis, which Danielle claims is false. She has never been granted bail. She shouldn't be. I'm glad she's not. Finally, a judge is doing the right thing. I wonder how much she mistreated her dog. Did she treat her dog like she treated her freaking grandchildren? Saving it for Patreon. I'm sorry.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because we're just so opinionated.
Oh, I'm trying so hard to contain myself, and I'm not good at that. I am very boisterous, and if something bothers me, you're going to know it when it bothers me, not 2 hours later. But I am trying very hard to contain myself. This is hard.
I know. So the last article that I could actually find that was published about when the trial was going to start actually said it was going to begin in August of 2025. Well, that never happened.
No.
So I was scouring around, couldn't find any other information. And I was like, so when is this trial going to start? So I found out in that interview that Danielle did with the podcast, Suffer the Little Children, that the most recent trial date is set to start on February 10th of 2026. So as of the time of this recording and when this episode goes out, that'll be a little less than a month away, right? Danielle actually sounded a bit worried about the trial, though, when she was being interviewed, because of how good of an actress her mother actually is. And she's also retained the counsel that defended Pamela Smart. His name is Mark Sisti.
Oh, wait a minute. Pamela Smart's in jail without possibility of parole, right? Great lawyer.
Right.
Great lawyer. Put Sherry on the stand like you did Pamela Smart, because that's what sent her to fucking jail, is she went and wanted to freaking be on that stand and be good. Put Sherry on that freaking stand. The prosecutor will rip her apart. Sorry. Okay, I'm controlling myself again.
No, it's actually really funny, Jane, that you say that, because the interviewer for that podcast that was talking with her, you know, as she's talking with her and talking through everything, she was like, well, I understand it. She was like, but it didn't work out too well for Pamela. So remember that. And she was like, oh, she has a really good lawyer and she's just a really good actress. And the woman was like, don't.
Danielle, if we see the truth and we see what's going on and we see Sherry for who she is, the jury and the judge, and let the courts take it from there, and they will see the truth. Yep. They will listen to your children. Your children have a lot to say. They will listen to your children.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as eyewitnesses, Danielle's children will have to testify. My heart broke into pieces realizing that and hearing her talk about that and describe what her children will potentially have to be going through with that. That's just absolutely
this may be therapeutic for them, though.
It may be,
because they're going to be able to talk about what actually happened to them, and they'll know that people are there actually listening. And Sherry is going to be over on the side, and she's not going to be able to touch them. And they will know that she's not going to be out free. She is going to go back into jail. So hopefully, I pray, I'm hoping I'm right. This may very well be very therapeutic for them.
I hope so.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I am hoping.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jane.
You know,
I hope so.
and I'm hoping that they're seeking a lot of help right now through therapy to make them strong enough to. They're heroes to me. They're like,
Absolutely.
okay, gotta save it for Patreon. Let's move on.
Absolutely. I agree. So, in his short 5.5 years, Boo is described as having sandy blonde hair, brown eyes, a sweet, absolutely unforgettable smile. He was an extremely well behaved baby that never cried. He was quiet and had the ability to keep himself entertained. He was always happy and always had the ability to make everyone around him happy. It was infectious. He loved Barney, loved to sing along to the songs, and loved the movie Cars. So we can only hope that Dennis Vaughan Jr. receives justice this February once the trial finally takes place. We also pray that his siblings find the strength to go through the court process that they have to go through, and that they're all protected in all the universal goodness and white light that they actually can be. These children have been through so much trauma, and my heart absolutely goes out to this family.
Absolutely. I am going to try. I'm going to try my best to find out exactly the court dates, when the trial is going to begin, time, date, all that, and I'm going to try to my best to get up there to the courthouse. I imagine it's going to be in Concord, and I want to be there to support Danielle. I want to be there to support the family and the kids, and
yeah, I figured once we got all into this and into this case, especially with the trial potentially starting here really soon, I knew that you were going to be there. And I knew that you would want to be there.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think it was important, to record this and get this out in a timely manner, and make sure that everybody's aware. So the support for the family can rally, and we can be paying attention to it in the news. And if it's postponed again and it doesn't start on February 10th, we need to get loud. We need to understand why. We need to, enough is enough. Yeah. Stop with the bullshit. Stop pushing everything out. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
I'm gonna be contacting a ton of people about this. I'm going to try and get this story out everywhere. I cannot believe it's not gone national. I cannot believe New Hampshire don't even talk about it. I live in New Hampshire. This is a huge case, like Harmony Montgomery's case. Why is nobody reporting on this?
I know. And that's what all of his advocates, like the grassroots work that I was talking about, and his justice page that's here on Facebook, and all the people, they're bringing that up. Even Danielle brings that up in interviews. She was like, what's so different about my child?
Yeah.
She's like, I can't go anywhere without seeing Harmony Montgomery, or couldn't, right after this happened. I couldn't go anywhere without seeing Harmony Montgomery's face.
And regardless, we do not want to take anything away from Harmony Montgomery's case.
No.
Brutal case. He's exactly where he needs to be. DCYF failed her too. And I've cried many, many tears for Harmony Montgomery. I wish they could find her body so they can put her to rest and her remains. But we don't want to take anything away from that. This should get the same amount of attention that Harmony's case has gotten, because I believe that Harmony's case got the attention it should have gotten. Now where's Boo? Where's Boo? Let's give Boo the attention that he deserves, so they can see justice, so we can start seeing accountability for DCYF. So with this, I think we should close, because I really want to get to the Patreon.
Yes.
And if you want to hear more about our opinions, our conversation, sign up, join our Patreon. That's where we're going to go to right now. So thank you for listening to Invisible Tears. And don't forget to follow, share, subscribe. And we hope you have a great day.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of Invisible Tears. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on all platforms through our link tree in the show notes. There you can find our social media platforms, our YouTube, and our website with our merch. You can also find our Patreon there. So if you're interested in supporting and joining the Invisible Tears team, join our Patreon today. And as always, ratings and recommendations help our podcast in algorithms. So if you haven't shown us some love and given us a 5-star rating and review, please do so. We appreciate each and every one of you and your continued support.